and you can just spam this over and over. Like, cooldown's only 5 seconds, and it lasts for like, what is it, like 30 seconds? So you can stack it like 4 or 5 times basically. And I mean, it's not, it helps. It's not, it sounds actually ridiculous, but if you think about it, that much strength over time is probably around 200 HP, so it's not rigged by any means, but it helps him survive, and it was, I always thought that was really unique. Just something you can spam over and over to keep yourself alive. His second skill is Soul Rip, which is basically, a lot of people know Dazzle or Demented Shaman here. It's very similar. Basically a damage and a heal based on how many units is surrounding it, and that directly synergizes with his third skill, which is Tombstone. Tombstone was probably his coolest skill, I feel like. It's basically a structure that you place on the ground, and any units in a certain AoE, the zombie basically attaches themselves to them and starts attacking them. It has slow properties and things of that nature, and if the enemy's like below a certain amount of health, it attacks faster and does more damage and things like that. You can destroy the Tombstone, but the good thing about this skill is you can actually heal it with your second skill. So essentially it's a good way to, it's a great pushing utility because it aggroes the creeps and just halts the the opposite creeps basically. So it's an amazing skill for pushing, and actually he's used mostly just for pushing strats as well. His ultimate, which I always thought was godly, it just seems so ridiculous. It's called Flesh Golem. Basically, he turns into an enormous ogre, and anything around him in a small AoE or anything he attacks takes more damage. It's basically amplified damage. So if somebody's like right next to you, you take 30, like level 3 for example, you take 30% extra damage for 30 seconds or something ridiculous. And depending on how far away it gets lesser and lesser, but that was always, I felt like, just an absolutely ridiculous spell that just raped people left and right. But that's my hero, and I really miss mechanics like that. You don't really see in it. Like Tombstone, I feel like is very unique, something that we just isn't in Han at all, that I really miss.
I must say it on the podcast. I have to ask people if they remember when Dirge first came out. I remember Dirge having Soul Rip as his first skill. His second skill was just to summon zombies, and these zombies, if they, I believe if they attacked a certain number of times, they spawned another zombie off of them. And I don't remember if they could consistently keep spawning zombies, but I remember doing this on Dirge. I remember his third skill was an aura that did 1% damage. I'm really looking for anyone who used to play Dota when he came first out. I mean, seriously. And his ulti was still the amplified damage, but he didn't turn into like a monster or anything. Like, I thought his thing was like a plague that you like cast on somebody and it'll bounce to other people.
You know,
but it was still an amplified
that part
damage.
doesn't sound familiar, but now that you talk about it more, I feel like you might be right. But Necrolite always had that aura. I feel like I don't understand. Like, I can't think of any other skill he ever had. Well, so I mean, this is the Dirge is a way newer hero compared to Necrolite too. So that's why I'm questioning that.
Yeah, I just hope that people in the YouTube comments or maybe somebody in the Dota replay section will know for sure, so I can put this to rest.
Xeno, you want to do Keeper of the Light again?
Alright guys, I'm looking forward to doing a hero very near and dear to my heart. Keeper of the Just kidding. Yeah. But of course, as Shannon likes to stick with his strength heroes, I will go back to intelligence once again. This was actually a hero that I was thinking about going over last time for our very first podcast. Decided against it for maybe a hero that was not played as much, but a hero that I found fun back in the day. This time I'm going to do Obsidian Destroyer. He's a very flexible intelligence hero that scales very well. A lot of his damage is based off of either his mana pool or, in the case of his ultimate, the amount of intelligence, or the difference between his intelligence and other heroes. So with that, we're going to quickly go over his skills. He is ranged, and again, from what I remember, he had very good starting statistics. He had very high attack damage. He's just one of those heroes that was really good in a lane. He's really good solo. He's really a very flexible hero. The only downside is he doesn't necessarily have that stun or escape or anything like that makes him a little bit more squishy since he is an intelligence hero. So definitely needs farm in game. His first skill is Arcane Orb. It's basically It's a spell that you can turn on that it's an orb for his attack. You can also turn on auto cast, much like Vindicator's attack or Arachna's Web or anything like that. Basically, what it... Oh, I see how it is. Or Drow's Ice Arrow. Thank you very much for interrupting me, Snoopy. Anyways, basically it's a high mana cost for an orb like this, but it deals a percentage of your remaining mana in damage. So for example, if you just happen to have like, 1,000 mana, the distance is nice and easy, you deal 90 damage per attack with the arcane orb. So it's one of those skills that scales pretty well as you go on, because your skills can give you some intelligence, and you really try and get a lot of intelligence with this hero because of his ultimate, which we'll touch on later. So one of those things that will help give him damage output, it's actually pure damage, so that avoids all fun armor and stuff like that too. His second ability, which is actually one of his more important one, basically it phases people out for a certain amount of time. When I say phases people out, I mean... I don't know the best example, but it's almost like... They're
not in the game anymore.
Yeah. They basically don't exist. You can't control your unit. You can't even select it. You're just gone. At level 4, you can phase someone out for 4 seconds. So basically, you take them out of the fight. And the more important part of this is you actually take 8 of their intelligence for a good minute. So you can kind of see how even earlier in the game, this is a very beneficial skill, even over the first skill that we went over. That's kind of the damage orb, because you gain so much damage not only for yourself, but you're taking away damage from them. So imagine yourself going up against a hero in mid, maybe another intelligence hero, and right off the bat at level 3, you have basically an 8 intelligence swing as far as your 2 heroes go. Just with that, I mean, you're basically going to be able to outlast hit them completely and do more damage and harass even better, and you're taking away some of their mana pool. So really effective spell early in the game. You can also basically take people out of team fights temporarily. Just a really flexible skill to use. His third is actually a passive aura that basically every time you cast a spell, it gives you a certain % chance to restore what, like I think it's 25% of your oh, I see, it's different.
It's like a free spell, I think, right?
I'm not sure exactly how it works, but yeah, basically you get 25% of your mana pool back if you happen to hit it. But
the way it used to work was like simply casting a spell. You had a chance of it
costing nothing.
Essentially, costing nothing.
Really?
Yeah. See, that's what I remembered, but
I don't remember.
I
remember it being like this.
Yeah, so I remember it the way you guys were saying, which was just as awesome. But this way, apparently, it's just you get a certain % chance to restore 25% of your mana pool, and you also get more mana for yourself as well, up to 300 mana at level 4, which helps out with some of your other spells and all that as well. So again, that's kind of an aura that you want to get early in the game, and allows you to kind of spam some of your other things like the Astral Imprisonment, like your Arcane Orb and stuff like that. Like, there's a reason why Arcane Orb costs 100 mana, which is pretty high. It's because you have that chance of gaining a lot of mana back as well. And finally, we get to the cool part, which is his ultimate, which is one of my favorite ultimates in the entire game. I don't know what else to say other than that. Basically, what it does is it will apply a 10x multiplier to the difference between your intelligence and the hero intelligence that is in the area of effect. And it's a pretty wide area of effect. I think at level 3, it's something like almost 600. It's 575. So, I mean, that's a pretty wide range, especially in team fights. So basically, for example, let's say this is late game. You have some nice items. You have... you're going against some strength heroes and stuff like that. You end up with 100 intelligence more than them, and you're going to do 1,000 damage in magic to that hero. And the other cool thing is it's also good against casters, because if you do less than a certain amount of damage, in this case if you do less than 500 damage at level 3, any person within that AoE will actually lose 75% of their mana. So imagine going into a team fight, throwing this down right away. Not only do you do a good amount of magic damage to a lot of the the strength and agility heroes in that area, but if there are casters that are close to your level of farm and close to your level of intelligence, they're going to lose basically all their mana. I mean, not all, but 75% is a lot of mana. They're not going to be able to cast. They're not going to be able to support their team. That really does a good job at the beginning of team fights, shutting down intelligence heroes. So
that was a ridiculous hero. I remember.
Just a very, very powerful.
I remember people didn't even finish items on it. They just put mystic staffs. They just all their items are mystic staffs.
I remember him being ridiculous, but not a lot of people knowing what the hell to do with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's picked. I wouldn't say consistently, but he's used as a pretty hard carry, essentially.
Well, yeah, because he just scales so well for an intelligence casting kind of damage hero, and he has that way of taking people out of team fights and controlling mana and all that fun stuff. So just a hero that I really like, very flexible, and can be played in a lot of different ways. So.
All right, I think that's it. You done, Xeno?
I am in fact done, good sir.
Super,
we may go on.
Super good.
Keep talking, please.
And
keep talking about the hero, please.
As far as going on, that's pretty much it, guys. We're gonna wrap this up. Thanks to everyone who's watching or listening. I suppose right now, I'm sure we're gonna put some kind of video in the background, but make sure to visit DotaReplays.org for more Dota 2 information. You'll also be able to find this podcast, of course. Another place to find it is our personal website, goodluckhavefuncasting.com. You can also find our cast there, and also a link to our live stream. We do a lot of stuff with our fans, so it's always a good time. Anything else you guys have to say before we wrap this thing up?
I love you long time.
Yeah, how about that Thailand?
And you stay classy, San Diego.
Is that your closing catchphrase?